Hello, this is Intuitive Anna Priscilla. It's been a little while, but I wanted to make a video for you today about 3 tarot decks. I called this video the Quiet Decks, and these are decks that you might want to use when you feel like you just want to step back a little bit and not have the images jumping out in your face. After a certain period in tarot, your tarot studies, you're going to outgrow or just be curious about other decks than the Rider-Waite. And there's thousands of decks out there. Believe me, I've got hundreds of them. And so you're going to go through different phases using different decks, depending on your mood or where you are in your own spiritual development. So today I wanted to just highlight 3 decks that I find are really restful decks. They're decks that you can just kind of sit and contemplate with. They're not jumping off the page at you, slapping you in the face. The color palettes are subtle, so the colors are soothing and quieting to the mind. And there is a point in your tarot reading where you're very active and you're very aggressive and you're out there and you're forcing meanings in the cards and you're really pursuing the story that the card's telling. But sometimes you just want to sit back and let the cards kind of wash over you and let your intuition come into play. So I find when I'm in that kind of mood, these decks are really helpful and just wonderful decks to know about. They're not particularly fashionable decks or decks that are highly engineered through Photoshop or something. They're actually decks that have been designed by 3 artists, 3 illustrators, graphic artists. So they're actually works of art of the 3 people who have created these decks. And that is one of the attractions of tarot decks is, of course, the art. And there are a lot of kind of mass decks out there that are totally manipulated through computer imagery. But these 3 decks are hand-created, and I really find that appealing about them. So the first deck I wanted to highlight is the Aquarian Tarot. This is a deck from 1970. It was very fashionable when I first started reading tarot cards in the 70s. It's considered a tarot classic. And the artist who created this is David Palladini. He created another deck, which I'll do another video on, which is much more highly colored. But he's an Italian artist, did a lot of graphic design, and a lot of this artwork is reminiscent of the music posters of the 70s, kind of the Art Nouveau style that was popular then. So I just wanted to show you a few of the cards from this deck, and you can see why it's a classic. The palette's fairly soft. I think this is one of the most beautiful cards. And again, Art Nouveau kind of, this was very, very reminiscent of the art of the 70s around album covers and posters and things like that. So this is a pretty laid-back deck. It's I'll show you some of the minor cards. I love the palette in the sword suit, kind of purples and pinks. Usually swords are depicted as this hard, cold kind of suit. Swords as being cold and steel. But actually the palette for this particular suit in this deck is very soft. And I really find that attractive. Also a lot of clouds. If you think of the swords as a suit of the mind, the clouds is it's the air element. It's an interesting element. You can see here the 3 of Swords. It's not so gruesome as the Rider-Waite 3 of Swords. So this is it's a calming, aesthetically pleasing. I love the wands or rod suit. This is the Queen of Rods, Queen of Wands. Very stylized, very, very beautiful. I like the white background with the palette that's used here. Then in the Pentacles, you have the blue sky, again the peaches and the pinks. Wonderful faces on the court cards. So if your appeal to this kind of artwork appeals to you, this is a wonderful, very classic collector's almost tarot deck. And one of the first decks that I was exposed to when I first started reading tarot. So that's the Aquarian Tarot. check that one out if you're drawn to that. The second deck I wanted to talk about, which is not really very widely known, is the Old English Tarot. Now this woman here, Maggie Kneen, I guess you pronounce her name that way, she's an illustrator. She's illustrated several books, and she's taken her inspiration from 14th century manuscript, which depicted country life. And so she's used the images, some of the scenery of country life on the cards. They're not like the Rider-Waite cards. They actually hark back more to the Marseille Tarot, and actually the design of the Major Arcana is very much like the original Italian decks, which had gold leaf on the Major Arcana. As you can see, the Magician, this is not a Golden Dawn image or Rider-Waite image, which came out of the late 1800s. This is much more akin to the French Marseille Tarot. The Magician is more of a trickster, more of a performer. He's not an initiate bringing mystical wisdom down to earth. He's actually here dealing with all the different elements, creating magic by performing, maybe some illusion too. So it's a different slant on the deck. You can see the tower here is interesting. It's not the big dark tower. The devil, this harks very much back to the French Marseille devil. So a little bit different imagery. The sun. So the Major Arcana, and the imagery is very soft. You'll see now when we get to the Minor Arcana, you can see it doesn't have the fully illustrated pip cards like we've gotten used to with the Rider-Waite. It has a combination in a way. It's got the swords like you would have in the Tarot of Marseille, which has no illustration, just the suit emblems. But then it also has a little illustration to illustrate the meaning. So here we have a shipwreck, a ship sinking. So the Ten of Swords is some kind of disaster. Seven of Swords, here we have a struggle. He's slaying the dragon. So Eight of Swords, this is the fortress, being maybe locked in the jail, being locked away in a fortress. You can see the King of Swords, he's very much a knight, very much more medieval imagery. But I think these are just beautiful cards, and I love the teeny little illustrations on the bottom. So that's a suit of swords. Then we have the Queen of Swords. Then we go to the batons. The batons have all have the same border, this kind of network in the back, and then the batons are actually sawed off pieces of a tree or wood. And then you have the little illustrations, the Three of Batons. So I think this is Ace of Batons. It's beautiful. Look, this would be the Ace of Wands. Here we have the tree sprouting with the tree, very much the tree of life, with batons being fire, the energy of life, regeneration, growth. So that's the batons or the wands. And then the cups. The cups are beautiful. They're these chalices, but then they also have these little wine grapevines, which we think of wines in the cup, celebration, imbibing, cups holding the wine for the sacrament. So you have the Knight of Cups here with all of his grapes around him. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little deck. And then for the pentacles or coins, we have coins, which is the earth. And here we have the 5. We have the leaves, again, different kinds of heraldry around it. We have the coins, medieval coin imagery, 2 of coins with the little ship sailing. So you can meditate on these little pictures at the bottom. So this is a very different type of deck. This was first created in 87, I believe, and reprinted in 2006, something like that. So this is a woman illustrator, and she has taken her inspiration from medieval manuscripts and created something quite different from what we're used to with the Rider-Waite Tarot. And I find this deck particularly calming for some reason. When I open this deck up, I just immediately feel calm. You know, I pull a card out like this, and the palette is so calming and peaceful, and there's no unnecessary details. So this is actually a wonderful deck different deck. You'll either feel really attracted to it or that won't ring the bell with you at all, but I find this deck very magical in a certain way. It's just a different vibe. And then this is a contemporary deck. This was 2020. This is actually one of my favorite contemporary decks. This is the Field Tarot by Hannah Elizabeth Fofana. She's an illustrator as well, a graphic designer. So all of these decks were created by artists who have illustrated books and done a lot of in that field. So this is, I love the palette in this. This is actually, I love the simplicity of this deck. So here you have Justice, very simple. Look at this, the Fool. Very contemporary. You can see that the characters, this is the Lovers. Look at this, the union of the opposites. And I love like the red hair and the tattoos and just the palette that's been chosen for this deck is extremely calming. I love the simplicity of the images. Two of Swords. So for me, this is a really good contemporary deck, very modern. The Lightseeker's Tarot is modern in the same way, but it's much busier. That's much more of a storytelling deck to me. But this, when I pull a card from this, I can just sit with it and kind of meditate on it. The other thing with this deck is that there are titles or descriptions for each card. I love the closing. That's like floral prints. It's just a wonderful, very calm, beautiful deck. So that's a more modern vibe. This is more of a graphic type illustration. So if any of those appeal to you, I would definitely encourage you to give them a try if you're kind of tired of the Rider-Waite, or you've got some really highly imaged, highly colored decks. You want something calming. Any one of these decks would be great for that. So let's just pick a card from each deck and see what each deck has to offer. So let's start with the Aquarian Tarot. Okay, let's ask them, so what is your particular energy got to offer us as tarot readers? How can you help tweak our intuition? Seven of Cups. Well, that's an interesting cup because you can see here there's many possibilities. There's a lot of different images you can get, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different inspirations, that there's not just one way to look at things. There's many possibilities. So a quieter deck gives you the possibility of opening your intuition into many more different avenues than maybe if you're working with a deck that is kind of right in your face or extremely detailed imagery. So what does this deck have to offer us? The Old English Tarot. This is kind of a sleeper deck. My husband bought it for me, and at first I wasn't sure about it, but now I just absolutely, probably the deck that gives me the most peace when I look at it or use it for readings. So what can you offer us, you Old English Tarot here? Ace of Swords. Well, Ace of Swords is clarity. So this is a very clear, cuts through all the kind of clutter and nonsense. Very clear, precise, clean deck. Also, the sword is going through the crown, so it can give you some really deep and clear insights. It's very, very straightforward, very simple. But also it comes from medieval times, so the swords it's appropriate for the medieval imagery. So I think this is a great deck just to cut through all the clutter and give you clarity of mind, clarity of image, and also clear your head from all the clutter. And you can see, look how soft all of these cards are. Okay, now the Field Tarot, a little bit more modern, contemporary deck. What insight can you give us by your nature? What do your images offer us? Introspection. Here he is meditating. This is perfect. This is what I always think of as this deck. Here he is meditating. He's meditating by the water, See the fish. It's almost a scrying image. It's closing his eyes, meditating. So this is a meditative, introspective deck that can bring you in tune with your intuition, some deeper imagery. It's also something that's coming from the depths. So this was always my feeling about this deck. This is kind of, it reminds me of Zen meditation. So there you are. This is a wonderful little collection of readings from these decks. And I hope that you will consider maybe putting aside some of your more active decks and working with these. And the secret with these decks, I believe, do your spread and just sit and stare at it. Don't try to really work hard on analyzing. Just let the images seep into your soul, and you'll get some wonderful insights and a whole different type of reading. So thank you for listening. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'll be back soon. I'm trying to think of some more interesting videos to do for you. I'm not really into just doing the usual predictive videos. I want to do a little bit more illuminating, teaching type of videos for you so that you can make the tarot your own and embark on your own tarot journey. So thank you again. I'll be back soon. If you like, please like and subscribe. And any comments you have, or if you've worked with these decks before, I'd love to hear about it. And we'll talk soon.